You keep promising we can ask those far worlds if anybody answered, and I still don't see a single mailbox.
Because the reply was never coming by mail. It has been arriving as light the whole time.
You said the distance invites and the air decides. So tell me how anyone reads air from 100 light years away.
With the oldest trick in this ship's library, we let the starlight do the traveling for us.
Starlight can carry a whole world's weather report?
It can carry something better. Every gas a world breathes steals its own exact colors from the light that passes through it.
Steals them, like the light gets robbed on the way through?
Precisely robbed, and tonight we learn to read the theft.
Vega and Qubit, and the colors that went missing.
Start with what we already own. Remember the star that blinked?
The blink is the planet, a world crossing its star's face and stealing a little of the light.
Now look closer at the crossing because the world does not block the light with a clean, hard edge. If that world wears air, the air wraps it like a thin, glowing rim.
So some of the starlight doesn't get blocked, it sneaks through the edge of the air.
A sliver of the star's light filters through that rim on its way to us.
Through that world's actual sky.
Through its clouds and its winds and its weather, none of which we have ever met.
How much light are we talking about?
Almost none. A whisper riding on a shout, thinner than one page in a very fat book.
And that whisper is supposed to carry a whole atmosphere?
That whisper carries the whole story because of what the air does to it on the way through. To read the story, first spread the light out. You have seen me do this before.
The barcodes in starlight, every ingredient leaves its own dark lines.
Word for word. And on our runaway sky voyage, I told you how astronomers first trusted that trick. They caught the fingerprint of it, written into the color of the light.
So every gas has its own pattern of stolen colors, its own set of gaps.
Its own and only its own. Water steals one exact set, carbon dioxide another, methane a third, and none of them can forge the others.
It's a signature nobody can fake.
The most honest handwriting in nature. A gas cannot lie about which colors it eats.
Then, if the sliver squeezed through a far world's sky, its rainbow should come out wearing new gaps.
Now you have invented the method. All that remains is to do it carefully. Carefully because the star writes gaps of its own. Its atmosphere eats colors too.
So how do we know which missing colors belong to the world and which belong to the star?
We read the star twice, once alone and once while the world is crossing its face.
2 rainbows from the same star.
And that is the whole secret. Now lay one over the other and subtract. Everything the star was already eating cancels out. Whatever gaps are left over arrived during the crossing, and only one new thing stood in the light.
The world's air. The leftovers are the sky of another planet.
Match those leftover gaps against the signatures we know, and you may name the gases in a sky you will never stand under.
Reading air we can't visit, in light that did the trip for us.
And this is not a bedtime story, Vega. Our telescopes truly do it. There is a great telescope floating far from Earth with a golden mirror made of honeycomb panels.
I know that one. The big golden eye.
That golden eye watched a puffy giant world cross its star 700 light-years from here. In the sliver that came through the giant's rim, whole families of colors had gone missing.
What did the gaps spell?
They spelled water vapor, and beside it carbon dioxide, the first time that gas was ever read in the air of a world beyond our sun.
Somebody read the ingredients of a sky 700 light-years away.
And it was only the beginning. Around a small, cool star, a smaller world gave up methane and carbon dioxide the very same way.
So we're out here collecting weather reports from skies nobody has ever seen up close.
Each one carried to us by a whisper of filtered light thinner than you can imagine.
The mailboxes were up there all along.
Now hold on to something, because the trick has a mirror.
A mirror?
Seen from a far world, Earth crosses the sun's face too. And when it does, a sliver of sunlight filters through the rim of our sky.
Our sliver.
Our sliver carrying our story. Any far astronomer with a golden eye of their own could spread it into a rainbow and find the gaps our breath leaves.
Our air has a signature too.
Oxygen in abundance with a trace of methane keeping it company. a pairing that would make any careful reader anywhere sit up very straight.
So while we've been reading their skies, our sky has been signing its name into every sunrise.
We are not only the readers in this library, Vega, we are also one of the books.
Then somebody out there could already be wondering about us.
If they exist, and if they look, and if their instruments are patient, our page is open.
Wait, if air can carry a signature, could we spot a gas that only living things make?
You have just asked the biggest question in this whole science, and it deserves the most careful answer I own. Some gases on Earth are made mostly by life, so finding one in a far sky would be a clue worth shouting about.
A clue? You didn't say proof.
Because a gas is a hint, never a detection of life itself. Chemistry without any creatures can cook up many of the same gases.
Two different cooks, one identical smell.
And the smell itself is faint. A few years ago, one small world's sliver seemed to whisper a gas that living seas make here at home.
Seem to?
Other teams reread the very same light with fresh eyes. And the whisper would not hold. It faded back into the noise.
So it was wrong?
It was unresolved, which is different. The question is still open. The checking is not the failure, Vega. The checking is the science.
Anyone can shout a discovery. It takes a whole community to whisper back. Are you sure?
When that claim finally survives every rereading, it will be one of the great sentences ever written. And it has not been written yet. And sometimes, to keep us humble, a world refuses to be read at all.
Refuses how?
One famous small world gave up its sliver. The astronomers spread it into a rainbow and found no gaps at all.
A blank page.
A perfectly blank page. High cloud and haze had drawn a lid across that sky, so the sliver skimmed the lid instead of the air below.
So a blank page doesn't mean no air. It can mean the air is keeping secrets.
Every method has edges, and knowing the edges is part of the reading. Clouds can hide a sky, and a whisper this thin is easily lost.
The wonder isn't that we read every world. It's that we can read any of them at all.
More than 6,300 worlds confirmed so far. And one by one we have begun to ask them what they breathe.
On the star that blinked, you told me we read a world's shadow, written in starlight.
And now you know the next line. With a sliver more patience, we can read its breath.
Light crosses half the galaxy carrying a letter. And all we had to do was learn to open it.
The letters were never lost, Vega. They were only waiting for readers.
So where do we point the golden eye next?
At a little red star that keeps 7 rocky worlds, a whole family crowded into one lantern's glow, and several of them rest where water could stay liquid.
7 worlds around one tiny star?
7. And next adventure, we sail for that little red lantern to meet the whole family.
If reading air across light years just rearranged your brain, subscribe, because 7 worlds are waiting, and so are we.
Setting course for the 7 worlds of the little red star.
See you out there, explorers!